So for me, one of the core foundations of leadership is getting to know yourself better in order to understand what belongs to you and what belongs to the other person, right? Or the other group. So I believe that if you're not really well acquainted with yourself and who you are, then it becomes more difficult to make a connection with anybody else, right? If you can't connect to yourself, it's difficult to connect to another person. Or you even start to connect to other people for them to compensate for something that you're missing yourself, right? So we have transfer and counter transfer. So in essence, I think it will start with getting to know yourself better, right? So metaphorically speaking, to land in yourself, right? To land in your own system and to be aware in the moment of your energy right now. So how do you feel? What's distracting you? Are there any thoughts keeping you from being here in this moment right now?
It's true. At the end, that's the most important thing, being present. Doesn't matter whether it's work, whether it's friends, whether it's with family, whether it's if you're an athlete, if you want to be the best in your role, you have to be in the shoes of your role, and that means being present. All right, all right. Hajo, as I told you last time, but again, thanks for doing this. I am very curious. I was told you are an inspiring speaker, an inspiring person. So I'm very happy to have you here. I took a look at some websites online, trying to understand something about yourself. You're a facilitator working on leadership and transformation. You focus on self-awareness and you help individuals and teams become better, perform better, and live better. So I'm very curious, what is your work about? And yeah, just to learn how it works. I'm very curious.
It's a small question with a big answer, right?
True.
So I work with, among other people, I work with startups as well. So in the Netherlands, here in Delft, which is close to where I live in The Hague. In Delft, you have Yes Delft, which is a startup incubator, and they do several programs. And one of the programs they do is the accelerator program. So they help startups accelerate, right? And what I do for or with Yes Delft is I organize an introduction day, so to get to know each other better. And that's what I do. But I also do 2 workshops of a full day. And in the workshops, in one workshop, I work on personal development. So that can mean anything from mindset. So how do you look at things in life that happen to you? But it's also related to values, to which values are important to you, and how do you use those values in everyday life, and how do you use values, for example, in hiring new staff. And I also do a full day on leadership development. And leadership development is all about, so when you enter the room as a leader, right, as a co-founder, and in your startup there's other people working for you, what is the impact you have when you walk into a room, right? What is the energetic signature that you have? What is the impact that you have on other people? So if you have a bad day when you wake up, right, and you're really grumpy, and you take that to work, and that's the first thing that people will see when you walk into the door. And so it's good to be aware of that. You don't have to push it away, but it's good to be aware that you have an impact on other people once you walk into the door.
And you help them shift that energy that they have, or like maybe become aware of the energy and then finding ways to shift that into a new, a better form of energy.
Yeah, the latter one, right? Basically, all my work, whether it is with the startups or it's with groups of leaders, right, or with individuals, all my work basically is all based around creating or increasing awareness so that you are able to make either to start making a conscious choice or to make different choices, right? That's basically, in essence, that's the work that I do.
Wow, that is super interesting. Like, again, on this topic of the energy in the morning, it's true that like I believe that some people, I don't know, to call it energy, to call it vibe, vibration, but like you can feel one, like the kind of energy, the kind of mood they are, and two, also like the leaderships. Often in a room, even if you go into a team you don't know, even if you don't know the job titles, also through the energy, by feeling the energy of the other people, you kind of understand who is the leader. How do you think, like, does it happen? And what behaviors can people do in order to, I wouldn't say like, I don't want to ask, how do I vibrate so that I am the leader? Because that's very egocentric. And maybe in some scenarios is the right thing. In some other scenario, maybe no. But
Yeah.
how do I make sure that I vibrate in the best way that represents myself? I don't know, it's a complex question, but how do I make sure that when I go into a table, I express my energy?
Yeah, so again, you ask small questions with very big answers, right? I think a piece of the puzzle. So I always tell the groups that I work with and other people that the only thing I have to offer is one truth, right? So that's my truth. So I always encourage people to find their own truth as well, because the things I say are based on experience, right? So I'm 49. I've worked quite a long time already, so I have experience. But again, it's just my experience through my lenses, right? Through my eyes. So there's never one truth, and there's always more out there. But having said that, I think it starts with getting to know yourself better, right? So for me, one of the core foundations of leadership is getting to know yourself better in order to understand what belongs to you and what belongs to the other person, right? Or the other
Mm,
group. So I believe that if you're not really well acquainted with yourself and who you are, then it becomes more difficult to make a connection with anybody else, right? If you can't connect to yourself, it's difficult to connect to another person. Or you even start to connect to other people for them to compensate for something that you're missing yourself, right?
mm,
So you have transfer and counter transfer. But so in essence, I think it will start with getting to know yourself better, right? So metaphorically speaking, to land in yourself, right? To land in your own system and to be able to be aware in the moment of your energy right now. So how do you feel? What's distracting you? Are there any thoughts keeping you from being here in this moment right now? Is your telephone, right, keeping you from being here? Or other things, your surroundings, are they keeping you from being here? What is distracting you? And am I able to get rid of the distraction as much as possible?
it's true. At the end, that's the most important thing, being present. Doesn't matter whether it's work, whether it's friends, whether it's with family, whether it's if you're an athlete. But I think if you want to be the best at what you're doing in your role, you have to be in the shoes of your role, and that means being present.
Yeah.
And I'm curious to ask you some practical ways
Ah,
on how to get present. But before, I want to ask you, thinking
so
out
many
loud now,
questions. Eh?
if you are like building now your career and you're helping people becoming more aware and more present, I assume that probably you are doing this because in the past you struggled with it and then you understood how to be present and then you studied and helped others. Is that a correct assumption?
Yeah, I think on a basic level it probably is. So what you see is um, if you experience something yourself, you experience it more intense, right? And then after that, it makes it, well, easier sometimes, but at least you have some sort of drive or passion to help other people as well.
How did it was for you, like in your experience?
Yeah, I don't think it was a large issue, so that I had a moment saying, oh, it was really an issue, and then I went to do this. I don't know, it was a whole path of my life leading to a certain point where I started really to do this work. So, and one of the aspects was normally I'm high energy, I can be quite intense. So that also means intense relationships, right? And intense communication, intense contact. That led to some, let's say, challenges at work sometimes, right? But basically, challenges of how to deal with myself. That was one part of it. Then another part was that at the same time where I was going through different changes at work, my wife got cancer. So she got
Oh, wow.
colonal cancer or intestinal cancer, and this was in 2015. So obviously she went through a process, but we also together went through a process. And then in 2016 we started living more consciously than before. So basically we quit drinking alcohol. We started eating vegetarian. Now we eat vegan, right? We don't drink coffee. Almost no drinks with carbon in it, right? So we did all these changes to live more consciously. We started a morning routine as well. So based on a book Miracle Morning by Hal Elrod. We can talk about it later maybe. So that also combined with the journey I was already on with my work, that led to the path that I'm on now. So I started working on leadership development within ABN AMRO, a large banking corporation in the Netherlands where I worked. And I did that for 6 years. And obviously it always starts with getting to know yourself better. So I went through many different courses, many different trainings. And then I decided to do work for myself. And then I moved away from the bank and I started as an entrepreneur.
I really like your story, and I guess that that experience that happened with you and your wife is very eye-opening, and you kind of do a reset of everything.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
So it's nice that by what you're saying, the awareness and the present is not just about some routines, which I guess are very important, and questions we should ask ourselves, but it's a lot about lifestyle as well. Because
Yeah.
that's not the first thing I thought about. But of course, that like what you eat and everything affects your level of presence.
Yeah, I totally agree. So everything is connected, right? So I try to read many different books, but there's an upside and a downside. The upside is you get a lot of new knowledge. The downside is you get a lot of new knowledge. If you read a book and you try to do something with it in real life, it takes time and it takes energy. So I can only read so many books and then I'm full because if I try to apply it to my actual life, then it takes some time and energy. But one of the books that I read and I really like and I talk about a lot and I work with a lot is the power of full engagement.
Mm.
And the power of full engagement basically says that our energy consists of four different levels, right? So we have your mental capacity, we have emotional capacity, and then we have a spiritual capacity, and we have a physical capacity. And on all four different levels, I believe that you have to work on your self-awareness. And all those four different levels, they communicate with each other. So what I think influences what I feel, right? And what I feel influences my drive, my spiritual energy, and that influences my body. But it's also the other way around. So my body influences what I think, what I feel, etc., right? So what I eat influences my body. My exercises influences my body. So maybe you have heard of the saying, your body is your temple. I really believe in that saying because your body is the physical vessel that contains your emotional energy, your mental energy, and also your spiritual energy. So if you don't
Hmm.
take care of your body, then your body can't take care of everything else, right?
Yeah, true, true. It's a very interesting topic. I also discussed this in the previous episode about this, also on a more spiritual perspective. But in order to function and for you to express yourself, you have to be, let's say, clean. And in order for you to have to be clean, you have to take care about all these things. So it's pretty interesting. I've noticed also some changes on myself since I've started yoga over the last 2 years. Somehow, I mean, my level of awareness, as I explained you in the last meeting, increased a lot about myself, about my past. And I can also see that there are changes in the lifestyle. So you try to sleep more. I've seen that I'm eating differently.
So how did it
I mean,
change? How did your eating pattern change?
so I had to make a big change when I got the psoriasis 2 years ago. So I was full of these red patches all over my skin, and doctors were like prescribing me creams and sunbath, which were fine. But online, I read some people to cut the like milk and cheese, to cut processed food. I mean, should be nice for everyone, but
Yeah,
it's
the
especially
ultra
for you.
processed food, right? Yeah.
Processed food, and then I also cut alcohol as well. And these three things were like I got completely clean my skin. And another thing that I've noticed, like I love steak, and when I'm out with friends, I eat meat. But like now, I don't buy any meat at all. I eat a lot of fish, but I don't eat meat anymore, despite like social events. Alcohol is the same, so I never drink alcohol now, never buy. Sometime on social events, but I don't like not cocktails, maybe some wine, but not cocktails. So I've seen like through yoga these changes, but like my teacher never told me, Carlos, don't drink alcohol, never even mention it, but it just happened. And I can see also other people, also my girlfriend who started doing it. I involved her at the beginning and now she's doing it probably more than myself, so that's quite nice. And like same for her. So she also quitted all these things. Now we eat a lot of vegetables, rice, and yeah, fish.
It's interesting. So you made one change, right? A big change. You started yoga, so you started well taking care of your body, right? And then if
Mhm.
you, so the interesting thing is again, right? This is my belief, right? So leave it with me. But
Sure.
I believe that if you take care of your body, then your body starts to take care of you as well. So it starts to give you signals, right? Of what
Hmm.
you want to eat or what you should drink or what you should not drink or what you should not eat. But in everyday life, so for example, I'm not sure how it is in different societies, but in Dutch society, it's considered nice. We say cozy in Holland, right? but it's considered nice and cozy to drink alcohol. If you drink alcohol, it's nice to, to have fun with each other. So if you drink alcohol, you're a fun person. If you don't drink, it gets more difficult. Maybe that mindset is changing a bit, but alcohol is such an integrated part of society. And in the same time, when you drink alcohol, it puts on a small layer between what's really good for you, right? What your body is telling you, and actually what you can receive. So if you take away all the noise, so the noise is alcohol, processed food, like you did, if you take away all the noise and you go back to your core, just the basics, then you're able to listen to your body. Because
Yeah, no, I believe it.
do you have, I don't know, I have, maybe I'm alone in this, but sometimes I get this craving, right? So I can sit during the day and then all of a sudden I have to eat nuts. Or a different day I have to eat avocado. Or do you recognize that?
I have nuts over here instead of snacks, so I eat a lot of nuts, I gotta say.
Yeah, but do you also have very specific craving so that, I don't know, your mind or your body is telling you now I should really eat, and then it doesn't matter what?
I'm noticing it. You know, my girlfriend has a lot those things. So yeah, now I should eat salad or now I should eat this. So I
Yes.
think yeah, because you're very clean and then you're able to communicate with your body. Your body can communicate with you. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's it. So next time you have a craving or your girlfriend has a craving, just and for example it's avocado, then Google avocado and you will see what different substances are in avocado, right? And then you know that your body is looking for.
Yeah, of course. Of course. It's arrogant to think that the intelligence is all only in the mind.
Yes.
Of course, like in your life, you ate thousands of avocado, thousands of salad, thousands of this. So whenever you need a particular substance, the body can connect that substance to what you have to eat.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a different kind of intelligence, as much intelligent as the mind, if not even like more intelligent because it doesn't have biases and probably as the
Ah,
mind does.
true. And yeah, sorry.
And I'm also curious to ask you about the coffee because I like cut off the list those things and I'm like adding better things on the list, but coffee is still on the list. So like egoistically, like I'm asking for myself, how did you manage to cut coffee? I guess it was one of the hardest. How did you manage to cut coffee and what is the benefit now?
So I tell you, for the coffee, I tell you, I never drank coffee in my life. I drank coffee once when I was 8 years old and I was in the lower school and I had to bring coffee to the teachers. But that's it. I never. So for me, it was easy.
Okay.
My wife drank a lot of coffee, so I can tell you, I can share with you her experience in a bit. And I drank a lot of Coke, so a lot of caffeine, right, was in the Coke. But so quitting with Coke wasn't very difficult. But for my wife, when she quit coffee, I think the first week she had headaches and it was difficult to get to sleep. And after that, it was fine. So basically, it was only the first week or the first 10 days that were hard. And after that was okay.
She just resisted it. To be honest, I tried 3 times, I think, and I got to 1 week. But then because of a day of little sleep, yeah, normally that is the reason. So if I sleep too short, then I'm not used to not get coffee. Then I'm like, and on the other side, I also love coffee a lot. So yeah, I think that's a hard challenge.
This is the thing with change, I think. So change is nice when it comes from desire, but it's even not better, but it's easier when it comes from pain. So you had your psoriasis, so you had to change something, right? Because you know deep down inside, if I go back to the way it was, I will get psoriasis again, right? So that's a very strong driver to do change. When my wife had cancer, after that we quit alcohol, we became more conscious, and we did the morning routine, right? So we woke up at 5 a.m. But it was easy because we know we never want to go back to the old situation, right? I quit smoking. So I smoked a very long time. I smoked 17 years, I think. And then I quit smoking just on the day, and I never looked back. Because when I quit smoking on that same day, I had a few experiences so I was a leader of a team, and I had a few conversations with different team members. And one of them was in the hospital already for lung disease. And another one was sitting close to me, and I could hear him breathing, right? So I came home, and I said, you know what? I do not want to wake up in a hospital bed when I'm 65 or 70 with, the awful lighting and just a terrible feeling. I don't want to do that to myself. So I quit. So I quit smoking. My wife was still smoking, And then the next day she said, hey, you're not smoking. I said, no, I quit. And she said, when? Yesterday. And he said, okay, I quit as well.
That was a good example. That was the leadership, actually. Yeah.
Yeah, but so when you feel the pain from inside, it's a really big motivator to maintain change, right? But so deep down somewhere within you, there's also a voice saying, "Hey, I like coffee. I love coffee. Give me coffee." And so that's also fine. So you're not feeling enough pain yet.
True, true. That's the very interesting, very interesting. And how about the morning routines? So now we spoke a little bit about the nutrition. How about the routines?
Yeah, what do you want to know?
Like, what is your morning routine, and what is the routine that normally you recommend to the people you are guiding?
Yeah. So my honest answer is my morning routine now is very little. I maybe normally getting up at 6 o'clock, quarter past six, and just maybe go outside sometimes for a run and sometimes meditate. But it's less than it has been. So there's different reasons for it. And I'm going back to the routine. So I want to start to go back. But it's been quite a journey actually. In 2016, I started the morning routine. So you have many different morning routines. You have a book called Miracle Morning by Hal Elrod. I would recommend reading that. It's a good book. You also have a book called The 5 a.m. Club by Robin Sharma. And the same Robin Sharma also wrote a book called The Monk Who Sold His Ferrari. They're all books about building up a routine. The routine I had with my wife was we got up at 5 o'clock. So normally we got up at 7, so 2 hours earlier. We got up at 5 o'clock, got out of bed immediately, so no snooze, right? Alarm, you wake up, right? Drink some water to activate your body, just get in some different clothes, and then we went downstairs. We did exercises. I did exercise for my back, she did some yoga exercises, and then after that we went running outside. So I went running for 4 or 5 times a week, then came back. Then we sat at the table together and we wrote in our diary for, I don't know, 20, 25 minutes. So for example, questions we answered writing in the book is, so my questions were, what was my success yesterday? What was one lesson I have to learn? What am I grateful for? And then I did some free writing as well. And then after the writing, I did some affirmations. So affirmations that were relevant to me at that period in time. And then after that, I did meditation before that. So there was 20 minutes meditation. And then we finished with reading a book for 10 or 15 minutes. So a book that helps us along.
That's beautiful, super intense, and I think you're super satisfied after those 2 hours.
Yeah.
Because you say, okay, the temple is I took care of the temple. Every room of the temple is clean now.
That's it. So it worked on all 4 different levels. Going outside is connecting to nature, is breathing in fresh air, right? Being in a moment, sometimes thinking about things or letting creativity flow when you're running. When you meditate, it's good for your spiritual energy, it's good for your emotional energy, it's to process emotions, it's to gain extra awareness, but also to gain balance and peace and quiet. Yeah, so all different components worked on a different level.
Yeah, super interesting. Because what I can see from my experience is that sometimes I wasn't like aware of these 4 areas. So my routine, which is meditation, and sometimes I go to the gym in the morning or sometime in the afternoon. But like for me, sometimes is I tend to polarize. Okay, I'm now in this period of my life. I'm really focused on this area, which is the spiritual one, or I'm focused on this area, the physical one. I never actually thought that you should have a lifestyle that allows you to work on the 4 of them.
Yeah, you can. So if you read those books I told you about, they all will tell you so that you can do different things like you are doing and then combine them and then you have a combined effect, right? But there's also a book, Atomic Habits. And Atomic Habits, I love that book. For me, the key message of Atomic Habits is basically keep it small and simple, right? So because when we started with the morning routine, we didn't start at 5 o'clock, but we started waking up, I forgot, but I think quarter past 6. I think that was the first time we got up, 6 o'clock or quarter past 6. And we only did 1 or 2 things off the list. And then after that, when we did that for a month, maybe 2 months, it got more and then more and more and more. Basically, That's basically the power when you keep it small. When you keep it small, you set yourself up for success. If you want to do too much in too little time, then you're setting yourself up for disappointment. Because, for example, if you want to move more and you say, okay, I'm going to go to the gym twice a week for an hour, chances are that, in the next couple of weeks, you won't make it for one day and maybe sometimes not 2 days. And then you start thinking to yourself, okay, I didn't get it, and then I quit, right? I'm not going. But
Yeah.
if you
Because it
make,
becomes a performance and you are judging yourself.
yeah, we're constantly judging ourselves, right? So, but if you make it small and you say, okay, I want to improve my physical exercise, so I will wake up, and when I wake up, I start with doing 2 push-ups and 2 knee bends. And that's it. 2 push-ups, 2 knee bends. And then when you do that, it's more easier to achieve. Then you're actually happy and satisfied with yourself, and chances are high that you will do more than the 2 knee bends and the 2 push-ups because you started your positive flow.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. No, it's true. You shouldn't judge yourself. I think when you have a list of things you want to do, like also for self-care, maybe if you don't do the first one, then you're like, okay, no, I don't do the others.
That's it.
And then if you don't do like neither the first one or the others, then also your day gets worse. And then you say, okay, no, I'm gonna buy this snack, whatever. Like tomorrow is a new day. No, we should actually like be present as you said and not be judgy. So sometimes that flexibility is important. Uh,
Yeah, and it's so I used to be very black and white. I can still be black and white sometimes, but over the years I worked really hard on that, right? That's my path. That's the thing I have to learn. But we shouldn't be too black and white to ourselves. So, for example, like you just said, right? So you do take that snack and you take one more snack and you eat the whole bag of crisps, right? That's fine. I mean, it's already gone, right? It's water under the bridge. So the only thing you can do is accept the fact that you ate the bag of crisps, and then maybe, if you can, learn from it, right? So ask yourself a question: why did I eat the bag of crisps, and what did it bring me, and what can I do different next time?
yeah, that's very important. And I wonder, is this the routine you prescribe, recommend to the people you work with, or each person should find its own routine? And how do you help them navigate towards finding their routine?
Yeah, the last bit, right, which you said. So I'm all for making your own choices, and I help people make their choices. So what we do, for example, with energy management, we do a self-assessment with a few questions to see where they are in their life right now, and they don't have to change anything. But then I ask them, using the 4 levels of engagement, I ask them to come up with an answer, a split second answer to which level do you need to work on first. And then some people choose the physical level, other people choose the emotional level, other people choose spiritual level, or they choose the mental level. And then we try to find different ways of working on that level and make it very small.
Interesting. What is the difference between the emotional and the mental? Like what kind, like for example, what are the issues related to the emotional
Yeah.
system and what are the issues related to the mental system?
So the mental level is basically all about focus. So how are you
Mm,
able to focus on the task ahead of you, and what is distracting you from being focused?
mhm. I see.
And the emotional level is all about the the richness of life. How wide do you experience life? What this is also from NLP, neuro-linguistic programming. But basically, your emotional life is like. Do you know those clocks with how do you call it? A
Ah,
pendulum?
yeah. In Italian we say pendolo. I don't know how to say
Yes, a
in
pendulum, right? So a
yeah.
pendula. And so your emotional life is like a pendula, right? So if you are only so there's a few different things. One, it's good to work on your emotional vocabulary because the more
Mm,
vocabulary we have for our emotions, the easier it becomes to experience those emotions. If all we have in our vocabulary is happy or sad, the pendulum is only right. It's only going here. It's only going between happy and sad. But the more emotions we know, the farther the pendulum can go in your life, right? So you can experience the fullness of life. So it's working on the vocabulary, but it's also working on the awareness of where am I right now? So, for example, if I ask you, how do you feel right now? What kind of feelings pop up for you?
I'm very relaxed. I have wonder, curiosity, wonder, relaxation. I'm very calm right
Mm.
now in this moment, even if in the last days I wasn't quite calm, but I feel quite present. Yeah.
Thanks. Yeah, and for me, it would be yeah, balanced right now, happy, curious, connected. So this is what I do in my daily life with all the groups that I facilitate and people. I try to build the emotional vocabulary as well, because especially in leadership, right? The more we know about ourselves, so the better we are in recognizing our own emotions, the easier it becomes to connect to other people and to connect to their emotions.
True. The better we are with ourselves, then of course, as a consequence, we will be with others.
Yes. But I'm not sure that everybody already has this insight.
Very important. I'm actively working a lot on this. What I can say, and I'm gonna ask you something personal. Like I see that my struggle to be present arises when I have a big question, which I consider very important, rolling over and over my head all the time. And I've noticed that I had like over the last months, like quite a big question in my head, which was, okay, what should I do? What should be my work? What should I focus on? Which is a big question. And I think like talking with friends my own age, so 25 years old, is a question that comes often because I think two reasons. Like one, you always aim for a goal and you always had expectation. Sometimes that goal wasn't always yours, or it was like a bit changed by this round. And the second thing but is now you're starting becoming aware a little bit about yourself. And so now you have to understand, at least in my case, where to put your goal and what you want to do. But I've talked with three, four friends over the last week, and everybody is like very, very focused upon this question, which is like, what should I do? And over the last months, I've been thinking probably too much about it. And also, a little parenthesis like Zen, which I've read a little bit over the last years, it teaches that the more you think, what should I do, the more you get lost, which is a paradox, but I believe is somehow true. And I've seen that this thing didn't help me be present when
No.
I'm doing a task, when I am with my girlfriend, when I'm doing whatever thing, because I'm more connected with the question and overthinking about the question rather than the reality and around you. But
Yeah, I think the interesting question there is, and thanks for sharing so far,
yeah.
because I think it happens, and I let you in on a secret. If you're 49, when you're 49, you're still wondering, what should I do? So the question never goes away. Um, but what's a good question beneath that is that, so what's your biggest fear, right? Normally, when we have a question in our mind and it keeps us busy, it's good to recognize, okay, what's the underlying fear that I have?
Mm.
So for you, what's the underlying fear of the question that you have? Should I do?
The fear that I might have is, let me tell you as a flow and then let's rephrase it. But I
Sure.
feel that I have a lot of energy, a lot of drive to do something meaningful with people. And my biggest fear is not knowing what it is, or better, maybe not being able to express my true self. I don't know, maybe I'm gonna give you a metaphor. I hope not to be too much egocentric, but I don't know. I feel like I told this the other day. Like I feel like Picasso, before knowing he should be a painter. And I feel like, oh, it's a pity if Picasso didn't paint, right? Because he didn't know. So my bigger fear, I think, is not expressing myself.
Because what would happen if you would not express yourself?
I feel an energy that needs to go somewhere to that is holding. It's there. It's ready to explode. Is not the right word, but it's ready to flow. Let's say, but it's not going right. It's holding itself. Like all this water on top of the mountain, but it wants to find a canal to become a river. Let's say,
Yeah, true.
and I'm afraid that it doesn't become a river.
But if I tell you already a river, we're already sitting here and doing this, right? This
Yeah,
interview.
true.
You already changed one life, my life.
Yeah, no, of course, and likewise, yeah.
And so, and this, of course, this is not a complete answer to your question, but I think a lot of the times we try to find an answer in here, while in reality, the answer lies out there, right? The answer lies in the fact that we just have to go outside and do and connect and live and find out if it works or not.
Yeah, true. The most important answers to our question are not intellectual.
No, most of the
I
time it's
think
not.
we live this, how do I say, like, yeah, this false reality. Like, we are told, okay, what is the capital of Italy? Rome. Okay, so what should I do? Like, the answer should be straight and linear, but it's not. Like, the only important question, the answer is not linear. And
No.
eventually, at the end, you have to do what you said, like, get out, go. Like, there is not a way. While you are walking, you're doing the way.
Yeah, yeah, that's it. You are the way, right?
You are the way.
There is only one way. So there's a very famous poem, right? A Spanish poem, the Traveler. I forgot who wrote it, but it says, "Traveler, you are the way," right? And there is no other way. So it's like a boat on the sea, and then you can see the trail of the boat, but then after a few moments, the trail is gone, right? So yeah, you are your own trail.
Nice, nice. That's what you are. Yeah.
Yeah. And so what does it mean, right? So to make it practical, what does it mean? It means find out what you like, find out what you think you're good at, and start to do something with that. Yeah, that's it.
And one thing that I'm now trying to focus on is cultivating patience also, because I'm not very, very patient.
How do you do that? How do you cultivate patience?
I just remind myself, like, whatever an emotion of frustration arise, my alert is always, okay, try to be patient. And the other thing is connected to what we just said is often when this frustration arise is because I'm not focusing on myself on the way, which is what you should do, but you're more focused on the surrounding.
Yeah.
So because like in my experience, whatever I was doing, there were like results, like more tangible results that could show progress. While in this phase of my life is, I mean, I can motivate in terms of awareness, in terms of learning and connection, the results, which are more valuable maybe than the others I used to. But as I'm used to those more tangible metrics of progress, now I'm not like seeing those metrics in progress, so I feel this frustration, and I remind myself, okay, patient. But probably like on the short term is a good thing to remind yourself patient.
Yeah,
I'm thinking out loud now, but on the long term, you say, okay, why should you be patient? Like you are the way.
no, and I think so. Too often we focus on, so we have positive emotions and negative emotions, right? So frustration in itself is a good emotion to feel. I mean, for the long term, it's not good to stay frustrated, right? Because it will not help you further along. But on the short term, every emotion is also a signal that is a signal. So, for example, frustration is a signal that something is not going the way that you want it to go. So, if you are able to stay with the emotion of frustration and really try to look at the emotion of frustration, hey, what are you trying to tell me? Then it's also easier to get rid of frustration. So, you don't have to block it, but embrace it and try to find the value of the emotion frustration. So, for example, why would you be frustrated? It could be because it's not going fast enough, or it could be you're not doing the things that you want to do. And then that leads to the next question, right? What can I do to change the situation?
Yeah.
All emotions are good emotions. If we take the time to understand them and understand the underlying signal and our underlying needs.
Yeah, true, true. There are not positive or negative emotion. Like all emotion are a signal, as you said.
Yeah.
So you just have to act according to that signal.
So what helped me in being more patient, well, not patient, but more forgiving towards other people. I used to get very upset sometimes or angry with other people, and I victimized myself, right? So I'm the victim and they're to blame, and especially in the working situation, I was blaming other people. I don't know, my boss or colleagues, other people, everything, everyone except myself. And what really helped me there is a secret I will share with you. Have you ever heard of Ho'oponopono?
Yeah,
Yeah?
yeah, I heard that it's kind of a song.
Maybe it's a song. I don't know it as a song, but that doesn't mean it's not a song. But the Ho'oponopono I'm referring to is a Hawaiian forgiveness ritual. Basically, Ho'oponopono, if you look it on Google, then you'll find different books on it. But basically, the essence of Ho'oponopono you can summarize in 4 different steps and 4 different sentences. And Ho'oponopono is all about taking 100% ownership of the situation that you're in or that you have been in. And so the first sentence is, I'm sorry. That's the first statement. And then the next step is, please forgive me. And then the third step is, I love you. And then the fourth step is, thank you. And so we won't go into detail that much because it will take a bit longer. But I actually use this many times in my life. So, for example, when something happens, even in my personal life. So, for example, I have a daughter now, she's 15, and sometimes I get triggered by my daughter, okay? But that's not her fault. When I'm triggered, I trigger myself, right? It's not the other person that is triggering me, but I trigger myself. So, and sometimes I can get angry at my daughter. And then I say something that I regret. I walk away. I think about it because I don't have a nice feeling, right? I feel sad, frustrated, irritated, annoyed. But those emotions are not helpful for the longer term. So I recognize those emotions. Then I start to analyze the situation. And then I start with the first statement. What am I sorry for, right? So I am sorry for the role that I played in the argument that we had with each other. And then I go back to my daughter's room. And then sometimes I literally or metaphorically say those four things. So I say to her, listen, I'm really sorry that and then I mention my behavior. Please forgive me. And then sometimes I try to explain what happened, but only from my point of view, okay? I'm not referring to her, just to my point of view. And then I say, I love you, thank you. And then I go away. And I'm not expecting anything from her, but it's just, it's cleaning myself and cleaning the air with her, right? Or with any situation.
And it's nice as you close as I love you, thank you.
Without expecting other people to change. It's all about me. It's all about my part.
True. And it's true that when anger is manifested, of course, there is an outside element that triggers it, but it's a manifestation of something that is inside, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Yeah, you can see it sometimes. I mean, people are different, but also in the simple thing. So like when you see a child like running on the beach and he's I don't know, moving all the sand around, there are some old people who smile at him and laugh if they get a little bit of sand, and they just see this child having fun and they laugh.
Yeah.
And other people who get upset, oh, why are you like throwing me all this sand?
That's it. Yeah.
Nothing changed. Like the difference is what those people have inside.
Yeah, so perception is projection, right? So how we perceive reality is only a projection of our inner state of mind.
Mm-hmm.
Because I can guarantee you that the older people that were laughing and smiling at the child, they had a better time the whole day than the people that were angry and upset.
True.
And yeah, so taking ownership of your emotional state of mind for me is a big part of living a healthy and comfortable life and a happy life. But it's difficult, eh? So I'm not saying that I can do this all the time.
And I'm curious to ask you one question about some of your experiences with some of the people you work with, like entrepreneurs. Entrepreneurs, from my experience, I mean, I've always worked alongside with entrepreneurs. I always said since I got familiar with this world, okay, I want to be an entrepreneur. So one day I want to build my own company. But what I noticed with entrepreneurs is that there is a lot of a strong expectations of how things should go. And I'm wondering, what is the balance when you're speaking with someone like, okay, you're like, this is not going very well. Like, should I continue? Should I work hard? Should I try to fix it somehow? And the balance of, okay, I'm an entrepreneur, but this venture is not working. So I should like move on and then eventually find a new venture to build. This is an interesting scenario. I don't know if you ever had this scenario.
And so to clarify, you mean a scenario that entrepreneurs are hanging on too long to something that's not working in real life?
Yeah, or actually when there is the uncertainty, okay, this is not working, should I like insist?
Yeah.
Should I still work on this or I should move on? Because I see some entrepreneurs around me who sometimes these things is what they are overthinking about.
Yeah.
And is detaching them to be present.
And probably when I ask you, you probably would say that they should already quit they do something else, right? They are doing it too long.
Yeah, sometimes yes.
I recognize it, so I have different people in mind. It's a difficult, well, the question is not difficult, but it's a difficult answer. So sometimes when I coach people, right, or work with groups, I can share awareness. I can make them more aware of things. And sometimes it doesn't happen too often anymore because normally I try to meet the people where they are instead of getting them where I am, right? But sometimes I have an opinion and then I think, yeah, you should do this or you should do that, right? Or I can clearly see that you should not be working in a startup anymore because it's not helpful. It's costing you energy and it's costing too much and it's giving too little back. But I am not the one that has to change. So the only thing I can do is bring awareness, ask questions, and then follow their lead.
Yeah,
They
sure,
have to
sure.
feel enough pain from the inside in order to change.
In order to change, yeah, again to that.
Because yeah, so people start to change when the pain of not changing is getting higher than the pain of changing. And
True, true.
this is, I think, so you touched upon something I find very difficult to deal with in everyday life is you just not know here, but you know in your full system that the person in front of you, for example, the entrepreneur or somebody else, that they have to do something else because that's better for who they are. It's better for them as a person, but they don't see it yet.
I think most of the time is because of a strong attachment, like their identity is completely based on the company they're doing.
Yeah.
So if you say you're not the, you should move on, your identity falls with the company.
I always say to co-founders or founders, you are the startup, but the startup is not you.
Hmm.
So
Cool.
meaning they are the face of the startup. They are the startup also towards employees. But what happens to the startup doesn't mean that it reflects back on them fully, right? There's a big
Yeah.
difference between the two, but for some people it's the same.
Yeah, yeah, I think that's a a good reminder for everyone. And also when you have this strong identity and this strong attachment, it's impossible to be present because it's more important to make it work over the long run. I don't know, and get to the result, whether it's a funding round, an exit, or whatever. And you're less focused on, okay, let's do what today we have to do to make this work, to give it the best shape.
True. True. I do a lot of work with, so when you start a business, right? A startup or any other kind of business and you go into it. For many people the product is the startup and they're not used to being in a relationship with other co-founders. But actually when you run a startup, you also have to run a relationship that you have with the co-founders. If you don't do that actively, then somewhere along the line, so for example, when you have a successful startup or you scale up and you're going to do a management buyout or you sell to a different company, then once you get to talk about money, then you realize, where are we? What does everybody value? Relationship is sometimes difficult for entrepreneurs.
And time, like managing time also, I guess it's quite hard. I don't know if it like looks harder from your perception, like inside your head, but yeah, it's normally like balancing time. And by balancing, I don't mean like 50-50. I mean like
Mm.
finding the right formula for you is quite hard.
It is hard, yeah. Especially if you don't have too much priority on self-care, on taking care of yourself, then all your time and energy goes into the business,
Hmm.
which is not necessarily a bad thing, but in the end, it's not sustainable because if you don't sustain yourself, you can't sustain your business.
Yeah, that's quite interesting.
Yeah, yeah. But you said you want to be an entrepreneur, right? But you're already an entrepreneur, I think, or not?
I think like yeah, I think the problem is again the expectation and the picture you see as an entrepreneur, which again wrong because you're focusing on the outside, not on the way. But yeah, I think in terms of like characteristic and characters, in all the experiences that I did, even though I never built my own corporation and I work for corporation, I was always very entrepreneurial, kicking off projects and putting people together and motivating people. And now what I'm doing now is also, I think, entrepreneurial, this
Yeah.
project.
I think so too. So you're already an entrepreneur. But the thing is that we're stuck to, I don't know, you have a certain definition, right? Either verbal or non-verbal of what entrepreneur means to you. And then you start comparing what you do with what that is, and then,
This is happening. I can tell you. So again, back on the frustration that I was feeling over the last month, this is some for sure happening. And also, okay, I'm gonna be like completely honest with you now, describing what I'm feeling, because maybe it's of course it's gonna be super useful for me and for the people listening. Like what happened, I decided to quit my job on Halloween because I felt, okay, I've been working there 2 years. I like to work when you're launching something new, you're doing the 0 to 1 phase. And then once this is done and just little improvement over time is extremely important. But I don't know, I kind of get bored into that game. And I felt, okay, after these 2 years, it's time to move on. So I don't know what I'm going to do, but I will quit and let's see what happens. Then I felt I should do this project, the podcast, and I'm gonna have conversation on awareness, on spirituality, in all topics that I'm exploring the most at the moment. And I'm happy that I did it, and I did it like with complete trust. I'm doing it for me and to connect with the people that I'm talking with. But then what happened? Like I've noticed that there are three things that are painful for me. So let's say like one thing is the solitude. So I'm not alone in this because, of course, I'm interacting with people. My family, my girlfriend are always supporting. But operationally, when you are on your laptop editing, writing people, you are alone. And I'm always used to work with 2, 3 people, and I love working with other people. It's super energizing. You can also tell from the first conversation we had, like just 2 days ago, 3 days ago, in just 10 minutes, we were fired up. I would say I like that in the morning to get fired up with other people. So that's one thing. The second thing, I guess, is what I told you, like the results. So I think the results, I mean, again, wrong perception because 2 people are having a conversation in each episode, and that's super enriching, at least for me, super enriching. That's why I started the project. And there are like, I would say 5 people who listen at every episode.
Yeah.
And then like there are hundreds of views, but who knows if they look at everything or not. But I tend to look a lot at the performance. So that's the second thing. So I should change metric of progress or I should forget about it.
Maybe, yeah.
And then the third thing is this narrative that I always said, okay, I want to be an entrepreneur. So I left work and I'm like, okay, I'm starting this project. I said I don't have expectation, but actually I had expectation of think like down the road, I will start something. And on one side, I tell myself, come on, Carlos, you left like 4 or 5 months ago. Like it's not that much, like things will come up. But I do feel that my body is telling me you need change because yeah, I feel like I like working with teams. Okay, no, the progress is something I should reframe. And then the entrepreneurial thing, I mean, what I can say is that I don't know if and when it is gonna come up, but what I can say is that I am missing that feeling of adventure that you have when you build a business, like the decision, the systems, teams you set up. That sense of adventure, I'm missing it, so I should do something about it. So this is the current scenario that I'm navigating. So I'm enjoying a lot this project, but I have to work on these three things.
Yeah. And so thanks for being open and thanks for sharing it with me.
Oh, thanks to you.
Because, yeah, I like it. And I think I understand the struggle. I also believe that we always struggle in our life. Sometimes a few years we don't struggle, but there's always a mental picture that we have, and then reality, and then the mismatch between the two, and that's the struggle, right? So it's also good to get comfortable feeling uncomfortable. It's okay. It's part of life to struggle, and it's normal because it's average. Everybody struggles, but not a lot of people talk about it. But that's just side information, right? But when because that's what I was writing down. When I hear you talk, I would translate it to different values that are important to you, right? So one value would be connection or social, right? So social interaction or connection. That's one
Yeah.
value that's important to you. And then the next value is result orientation, right? So it has to mean something what you're doing. It has to lead to something. And then the third value can be adventure, or it could be
Adventure, yeah.
exploring, right? Or it could be, yeah, exploring is probably a nice word. Adventurous, exploration. So if you have those three words, right? And if you take a look at it, so the journey that you're undertaking and the things that you're doing now, they have also led you to these three words, right? Connection, results, or result orientation, and adventure.
Yeah, that's already a huge progress being able to
That's it, because
identify.
now you know the next step, right? So the next step is looking for something that will provide you with connection, it will provide you with a result-oriented environment, and where you can be adventurous.
Hmm.
That's a huge win already.
That's a huge win. And then I would add the freedom. So I think I had these three things. I was unaware that I had these three things in the previous experiences, but I had to change to pursue this freedom of going where I feel or where I want. So yeah, it's an important thing, this for topic. Yeah.
What? So how do you call it? How do you call this journey? What are you doing? Is this an interview or a podcast? How do you name this?
It's a podcast, I call it. I have
Yeah.
conversation with inspiring people to inspire myself and the people listening.
And why did you start the journey with the interviews?
The reason is because this is a beautiful question. The reason is because the people I started interviewing were people who they went like they were doing somehow a path, successful or not, like normally successful from external validation perspective. And then because of something, whether a meeting, casualties, an accident, they changed the trajectory of their life. And I can also see like that also you somehow this happened because
Mm.
of what happened with you and your wife. And what I see now is that these people are now again successful in what they're doing, but subjectively now they are really successful because they are doing something that is truly authentic to themselves. So these people have done a hero journey of becoming their true self and living an authentic life. I think the more authentic people are the most inspiring ones. And I also saw myself at the beginning of this hero journey. So like, okay, I have to change. I don't know what is going to happen, but I will do it. And so I wanted to do the podcast because I saw correlation between the people I was interviewing because they already went through this hero journey, and I'm like at the beginning of this hero journey, and I can learn from them. Then of course this is always a narrative because maybe if I talk with these people, it's an ongoing process, the hero journey, right? It's not okay, because of these years now everything changed. I mean, there are important chapters of change, but it's an ongoing process.
Yes.
But this is the reason why I started, I guess.
Yeah. So if you bring that back to, I don't know, two or three bullets, right? Very short. What was your why at the beginning of the project?
So one was motivation to
For yourself, right?
for myself for
Yeah.
this
So
hero
that's
journey.
one.
So I felt it's time for a hero journey. I don't know where it's gonna lead, but this is gonna be the motivation. So I'm gonna talk with people who do it as well.
Yeah.
Second, I feel this is very powerful for me, and also I think like other people want it as well. So second thing was like inspiring others
Yeah.
doing it. So inspiration. And then space for which is connected to the first point, but it's space for self-exploration.
Yeah.
Because as I stop the work and I'm doing this project, I have a lot of more space to explore myself and have an adventure in the world.
So this is interesting. If you take a look at those three, right? I wrote them down again. So motivation, inspiration, and space. If those were your goals or your targets at the beginning of the journey, how do you think you're doing on those three subjects on motivation? So, for example, on a scale from 1 to 10, how are you doing on motivation?
I was super motivated at the beginning because I think that was the narrative. Okay, now I left my job because of this. So it was the narrative that allowed me to quit, let's say. So I was super motivated. Now I am motivated when I'm doing the conversations. Then when I'm doing the editing and stuff, I'm less motivated. So I would tell you 6, 7.
Yeah, and inspiring.
Inspiring. Way more because I've been talking with some close friends who have been super inspired, and I'm very inspired by all of this. So maybe also too much inspired. No, I'm just joking, but like sometimes I like okay questioning many things of my life. But no, I will give a 9, 10 into inspiration, of course, and I'm very super happy about it.
And the last one, space. Did it provide you with space this whole process up to now?
Also, 9, 9, 10, oh, and maybe also like too much space because now I'm like, oh, what should I do? It's true.
True.
Now, like the reason why I'm questioning this a lot, and I wasn't questioning it like 6 months ago is because all of this space. But at the end is super positive now that I see, because I achieved all these things.
So you stopped with your job and you started something new, this journey of the interviews. So if you just take a look at the numbers you just gave me, right? And those are the results of your journey so far. How successful are you?
No, I definitely am.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And maybe now it's time for something new in your path, right? But what you did very successful.
true. No, I did very successful because I was able to find the space, stop the work that I was doing, and motivate myself to do it, and inspire myself and other people with these interviews.
Yeah.
So yeah, I want to continue the project for the inspiration bullet point, but now I feel like I want to also start something new. Yeah,
And
where I have the connection, the adventure, the freedom.
that's it. That's it. So it's just the next step, right?
Wow, wow, yeah. You see, now I'm thinking about this framework that you gave me, and it's incredible. I think that a little bit of the pain we discussed before arise. I mean, one, because of I didn't put these bullet points, but I put like views, for example, as a metric, which of course is not related to motivation, inspiration, and
No.
openness. It's not related to that, so who cares? And the other thing is bias that I have, that when I start something, I become very attached to that. So I have to continue, and make it great. But yeah, it's yeah, probably a pattern of my behavior.
Yeah. And sometimes it serves you really well, right? I mean, sometimes you have to endure and you have to persist in order to achieve greatness, of course, of success. And sometimes it's fine as it is, and then you move on to something else. And obviously, the difficulty is to know the difference between the two, right? But for me, but this is just my opinion, when I feel what you're telling me, what you're saying, it feels like you're almost ready to finish this chapter and to start a new chapter.
Yeah, perhaps yes. Perhaps yes. Yeah, no, no. I'm calling a new chapter. Yeah, my body is calling a new chapter. Yeah.
Do you already know the name of the new chapter?
Wow, I like the question because you always push me to go a little bit further in my thinking. I love it. I don't know the name of the new chapter, but I think it's something related to adventure and creativity. Creativity, yeah.
Yeah. And moving on.
Yeah, creation. Yeah. This chapter probably I called it inspiration. Yeah, inspiration, and now this new chapter I feel is going to be creation, creativity. Yeah.
Yeah, true. And I have to say, let me ask you a question. The hero's journey that you described, I
Yeah.
think it's a big word. Well, if it relates to me, then it makes me a bit shy and quiet. But if the people you talk to for the hero's journey, what is their age on average?
They are on average, I think, 10 years older than me.
Yeah.
So 36, I think, on average. Like around 40 on average. Now, because some people were also like older, I think around 40 the
That
the
would be
the average.
that would be my assumption as well, because you're only just starting life, right? I mean, you're 26,
25, yeah.
25, sorry. So, of course, you're 25, so you have lived for 25 years. But basically, you're actually just at the beginning of your conscious life, right? Of the life that you're consciously living and that you're really fully aware of. So, you're also at the beginning of your journey.
Yeah, true.
And the journey can only take place when you take one step at a time, right? But you have to move
True.
somewhere in order for it to be a journey.
True, true. And I'm happy that I stumbled, like I came upon this concept of let's call it freedom, which is a great value for me, but it
Mm.
sometimes is also scaring, right?
Yeah.
Quite early on. So I started working early, and so I did some experiences. Then because of the psoriasis, it like pushed me to probably this.
Yeah.
So yeah, let's see. And I'm excited. Now I feel excitement for what is ahead.
Let me ask you, because I can only imagine how it is to have the psoriasis, right? What is one life lesson that you take away from the period that you had dealing with psoriasis?
What you just said, what you say to the founders you're helping. So you are the startup, but the startup is not you. But in general, like your work is not you. This is what I got. So what the psoriasis taught me is that I was just into work, 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 work. And when I was not working, I was thinking about work. And I think that's why the psoriasis came. I didn't feel stressed. I didn't feel bad. I was actually very excited for what I was doing. But I was, of course, neglecting and not feeling everything. And I think that psoriasis was the only way in my body to tell me, Carlos, okay, stop a little bit and think about. So I think now that I'm reading a lot about Zen, the yin and yang energy, I was just into yang, and then I started bringing some yin, call it like that. Then probably over the last months, I was more on the yin rather than the yang, and now like I'm feeling I want to go into the middle. And you can also see from the topics I'm telling you. So like this part was more about inspiration, and inspiration normally is more in the yin. And now I feel like I told you before, like I'm missing the adventure and
Yeah.
stuff. So that's the yang. So now I want to find the way in the middle.
And I think that the entire life is just an up and down movement, right? It's moving in the yin and then out of the yin and so on. But I
Yeah,
think
probably we shouldn't expect like to be straight.
no. I know. Let me just say I know very little people that actually have a flat line or a very flat line as a life. Um, but when you're 25 and you already have the lesson for yourself that work is not everything, it's such a valuable lesson to have at such a young age that the rest of your life you get the benefits from that lesson. So this is very personal, of course, but to my wife and myself, obviously, especially for her, but also for me, in the end, we saw her illness as an opportunity to make necessary changes in our life.
No, of course.
That helped us tremendously.
I believe it. I believe it. And that helps you reframe everything in the best possible way.
Yeah, you have. I think it's Jung that says with the law of attraction or synchronicity, as he calls it, that you attract experiences in your life that enable you to learn what you have to learn.
True. That's always an important question. Like when things come and are unpleasant, instead of blaming or complaining, asking what for.
And unpleasant is a very personal emotion, right? So when is something unpleasant or not, or pleasant? It's the distinction is in your own mind. It's not easy, of course, but if you want to read, maybe you read it already, but a great book on dealing with circumstances is The Choice by Edith Egger. Do you know it?
I heard about it.
It's, if you have the chance, then you should really read it. It's a beautiful book, all about how life deals you playing cards. So you don't get to choose the cards that life deals you, but you get to choose how you play with those cards. And it's a very impressive, beautiful book.
I think it comes at the right time for me to read it. So yeah, thanks for that. Thank you. Wow, Hajo. I'm thinking out loud again about what we just discussed, and I love how you reframe everything that I'm experiencing right now at the moment. Yeah. Again, now I'm thinking out loud, but I think thanks to what we discussed, to this conversation, I think I was a little bit afraid to say out loud, it's time to a new chapter. I was afraid to say it out loud because I felt, okay, it's too little time. But again, that is the mind. It says the inspiration part was too little. The body is telling me, is calling me for that new adventure creativity chapter.
That's it. I think that's so beautiful, Carlos. It's that your whole system is telling you something, right? And you more or less know what it means. And now you just follow the clue and you go on an exploration.
Yeah. I will ask you a very hard question, but I think the answer, I can only find it on myself. But the question would be, I'm gonna share it. What advice do you give me on for this exploration?
So the only answer I can give you is follow your instincts, right? Follow your feeling. Be curious when you're doing it. Be brave.
Be brave. I love it. I
Yeah.
love it.
There's so much to say on the content side, but that's for you to discover, right? I think you're a very bright, smart individual, and you have so many life experience already, and you're so curious to all different sides of life that I have no doubt that you will be successful, in your own way, right? Because success is such a subjective word. Success for me might mean something else than success for you. But I know that you will accomplish what you want to accomplish.
Wow. I really appreciate it. Thanks for helping me navigating everything I had in my mind and to paint it out in such a clean and simple way. I'm very happy that we did this conversation, this interview, because I learned tons, and two, I could navigate into this. I feel like I received a full consultation from you, completely free. Also, I didn't. It just happened. I did. Because normally I just ask like general questions that are helpful for everyone. I'm happy that this time I could like dive in a little bit more on myself. But I think that as a consequence of what came out is a better advice for the people listening. So I'm very happy for that. Thanks for helping me navigating all of this.
Thank you. And you do all of it yourself, right? I'm just here just asking you a few questions and basically saying to you, you're good the way you are. And that's it. I mean, you do all the work yourself.
Yeah, no, exactly. Yeah, all the tools and all the elements, all the colors were here. We just
Yeah.
painted everything in a clear way. Yeah.
And I learned a lot as well, Carlos. I find you really inspiring. I find it inspiring to see that you're 25 and you're undertaking so many different things. Also, I find you really brave in just sharing your inner life, right? Your inner experiences, your emotions, and what's on your mind. When I was 25, I wasn't able to do that, not by a long shot. For me, maybe it started at 40. So never underestimate your own braveness and the inspiration you have towards other people. Thank you.
Wow. Thanks to you, Hazra. I understood what a facilitator is and does, and I think you are doing it tremendously well.
Thank you.